That competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. When playing with Byron Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? Bird tough to defend? Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. So like, I'm missing something. So like, tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean?
You know, they say we die twice. Once when the breath leaves our body, and once when the last person we know says our name.
And he would be shooting baskets in the dark because they hadn't even turned the lights on yet. He'd be there an hour, 2 hours before everybody. Everybody would be at breakfast, and he would show up fully sweated out, like he'd just done 3 hours of work and that before anybody did anything.
How much harder will you work in this offseason now to get back to the championship?
I'll push myself to exhaustion. I play games with the flu. I play games with 102-degree fever, man.
Yeah, I made a promise to myself. I was going to work that hard every single day. When I do retire, I have no regrets. If I could work that hard every day, what would my career be?
From Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
This kid right here, mark my words, is going to be unbelievable.
There you see Kobe Bryant in the foreground, the man many have dubbed the next Michael Jordan.
You want it so bad and you're willing to go to the extreme at the age of 34, playing 38 minutes. That's ludicrous. He's cursed as much as I am.
He just want to get to the offensive end and go one-on-one. I'm going to make his ass work down.
It was fun to be out there.
This man played with a broken finger and won a championship.
My brain cannot process failure. It will not process failure. Because if I sit there and have to face myself and tell myself, you're a failure, I think that's almost worse than death.
You getting up 6 in the morning, man? It's 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
What time do you go to sleep?
I don't need too many hours of sleep, man. I can go off in 3-4 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
3 hours?
Yeah.
Damn, they told you I got sleep apnea, right? Damn, I need about 6-7 hours. What's a normal day like for you, particularly in the off season when you talk about getting up there early? I want to know what time you get up,
right,
and I want to know what you do when you get up.
Right. Well, I normally wake up at about 4:30, and
4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning, and I get ready to work out. This past summer I couldn't, run like I normally do and do all the shots because of my knee.
Right.
So I'll get up in the morning and do my therapy, do weights, things of that nature. And I do that about 2-3 times a day sometimes. But the key is when you get up that early in the morning, you finish your workout, 12 o'clock, 12:30, whatever. You have the rest of the day to kick it with the fam.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Instead of waking up, middle of the day, you get all of those hours in, then your day's shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
if you get up at 10 in the morning, train at 11, right? 12, say 12, train at 12, train for 2 hours, 12 to 2. You have to let your body recover. So you eat, recover, whatever. You get back out, you train, start training again at 6. Train from 6 to 8, right? And now you go home, you shower, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, you do it again, right? Those are 2 sessions, right? Now imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4. You go 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, blah, blah, blah. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11. Right, you relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4. Right, and so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger, and by year 5 or 6, doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up.
If you want to be a great player, if you play every single day, 2-3 hours, every single day, over the course of a year, how much better are you getting? Most kids will play maybe,
an hour and a half, 2 days a week. Do the math on that. It's not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done, right? So if you're obsessively training 2-3 hours every single day over a year, over 2 years,
you're accelerating.
You make quantum leaps, man.
I wasn't invited to parties or family gatherings on the weekend. So on Fridays and Saturdays, I would go in my rec room with my basketball and basically dribble myself to sleep. I think that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because during those lonely hours in the rec room, I discovered the hunger, the motivation, and the desire to be the best possible basketball player that I could be.
I don't think I've ever said this before. This kind of makes me seem very psychotic, but whatever. Won 5 championships, that's great. Another team won a championship this year. Team's gonna win a championship next year. Those things come and they go. But what stays is, how do you use your passion and use that to inspire somebody else to create their passion? And then how can they pass that on to the next person? That is true success.
There's a choice we have to make as people, as individuals. If you want to be great at something, you have to make inherent sacrifices that come along with that. Family time, hanging out with your friends. So at the age of 18, I knew that I was not going to be stopped. This was my life. We all can be masters at our craft, but you have to make sacrifices that come along with making that decision. I don't look at it as repeat. I look at it as just winning. You know what I mean? It's of course at the end, the end result is repeating, but man, it's a whole nother year. I'm not, what we did last year was great, but it's not that difficult to me. Just forget about it, move on to the next season, just win it again.
What have you learned about yourself through these 20 years of being in the NBA?
Wow. What I've learned is to always keep going. Always. There's been times, particularly early in my career, where it just feels like this is the end. But what I've come to find out is that, no matter what happens, the storm eventually ends. And when the storm does end, you want to make sure that you're ready. And so I've really learned to put one foot in front of the other, good, bad, or indifferent, because eventually that storm passes.
We were in Vegas for the start of training camp, and we're getting ready for the Olympics in Beijing. We're going to head to Beijing. And I wanted to establish myself as a young leader on the team by waking up bright and early, day one. So the goal was to be the first one at breakfast. So I set my alarm. I make sure I'm up by sunrise. I get out of bed. I put on my gear and I head downstairs. But when I get there, Kobe's already there, with ice packs on his knees, drenched in sweat. Now, it took me a minute to figure it out, but this guy wasn't only awake before me. He had already worked out. He had just played in the finals days earlier. Meanwhile, I'd been off for months and I was still exhausted. What he had done that morning was incomprehensible to me. That dedication he had only days after falling short of an NBA championship. That taught me something I've never forgotten. Legends aren't defined by their successes. They're defined by how they bounce back from their failures.
Well, what does losing feel like to you?
It's exciting.
Why is it exciting?
Because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out, that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed, that you need to shore up. Right, so it was exciting. I mean, it sucks to lose,
right?
But at the same time, there are answers there if you just look at them.
Because you get the information from losing more than from winning, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the answers are there when you win too. You just have to look at them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a constant process. It's exciting when you win. It's exciting when you lose, because the process should be exactly the same. I think the greatest fear that we face is ourselves. Actually, I think it's not anything that's external or anything that's superficial. I think the greatest fear you face is yourself, because we all have dreams, and it's very scary sometimes to accept the dream that you have, and it's scarier still to say, okay, I want that. It's scary because you're afraid that if you put your heart and soul into it and you fail, then how are you going to feel about yourself, right? So being fearless means putting yourself out there and going for it. No matter what, go for it. Not for anybody else, but for yourself.
Doubt is such a strange thing. I mean,
You know, there'll be times where you succeed and there are times that you fail. So wasting your time doubting whether you're going to be successful or not is pointless. It is. And you just put one foot in front of the other. You control what you can't control.